I sat beside a stranger. It turned out to be my father, who I barely know. During the weekend, I 26M went home for the Easter in our small town. I planned to go catch a bus to travel to my friend, when I noticed a man in his late 40s sat next to me in the bench. I didn't think much of it until I noticed weirdly in my peripheral vision that he was eyeing me for quite a while. I stared back at him to know what it was all about, and the first thing that came to mind is that he looked familiar. He took off his gaze since the bus arrived, and we both boarded the same. We sat relatively far in the bus, but I was too occupied knowing he looked too familiar. And all I could remember was the faint memory of my childhood in the courtroom. All I knew was that it had to be him. I was born out of a defective love story of a man who promised his college girl a life with marriage, and then leaving her alone after bearing her a child. She did fight for my rights, but not their relationship. A story I heard from my aunts before. My mom was furious when she knew the man was soon set off to be married to another woman when I was still about 1 year old. She planned to crash their wedding and object pronto. Turned out that he outwitted her by booking 2 wedding venues, so he can mislead her and marry his current wife. I do know about this name. I do know where he lives. I know his job, but none of it really mattered since I never felt like I needed to have a father. I never really saw him quite more than 5 times for past more than 20 years of my entire life. I just saw pictures of him before as a child and have a faint recollection of what he looks like. Most people assume that I feel upset as a child for not having a father, which is ultimately untrue. If you have been born to live without the knowledge of how it feels to have a father, then you will live just fine, and I grew up just fine. There is no space to fill when there is no knowledge of a space required. I did know he was my father, but I just didn't think having one was important. If you ask me if I hate him, I don't. I just don't have the capacity to feel for someone I do not know. During the whole ride it just felt weird to me. And suddenly I was thinking about him to my surprise. I'm already at the age where he dated and fooled around with my mom. And honestly, I wonder how does it make him feel that part of him somewhere in the world is so close, and yet so far? What made him decide to not at least say hi? I would have liked to meet him as a stranger, only if he didn't recognize who I was.